Years ago, he had knelt helplessly as a monster held his sister by the head. His orphanage teacher was bleeding, begging him to run. Everyone he cared about, friends, orphans, was slaughtered before his eyes. The sky cracked open, and monsters poured in, tearing the world apart. And yet, in the middle of that nightmare, someone saved him. She appeared like a miracle, slashing through monsters, and asked him one simple question. "Are you scared?" That moment changed everything. He had survived. He had trained. He had fought countless monsters since then, trying to become like her. But after all that, what had he really achieved? His comrades now lay dead. His body was failing. And despite the blood on his blade, he still felt powerless. Then the earth trembled. He turned. A colossal dragon stood before him, its breath charging. Sang-hyun froze, pain shooting through his spine. And in that quiet, burning moment, he asked himself, where did it all go wrong? All he wanted now was one chance. Just one chance to go back, to return to the past with all his knowledge and regrets. Maybe then, he could finally become the hero he had once dreamed of being. But he still managed to slay a dragon. A solid feat. Except he was still just a washed-up ESP who barely made it into Korea's top 100. No fame, no glory. Just blood, sweat, and regret. After the fight, he found a mysterious book lying in the field. It looked oddly familiar. He wondered, could he eat it like the artifacts he consumed years ago? Before he could act, a screen lit up. Constellation. Model student beginner has entered. A portal opened, and out came a man who congratulated Sang-hyun on the final blow. The guy praised his swordsmanship and told him, yes, eat the book. Sang-hyun hesitated, but obeyed. After all, he once gained power through devouring artifacts. But this time, the ability that awakened was weak. So he started testing. Boiling, frying, roasting artifacts like a chef on a cooking show. Still nothing. But when he touched the book again, his ability finally activated. Turns out, for 30 years, his artifact-devouring skill never worked right. It needed a properly classified artifact, and now that he had one, it was too late. Looking back on his life full of regrets, Sang-hyun muttered, "If only I were younger." And the constellation smiled. Suddenly, flash, he blacked out. Next thing he knew, he was lying in his old studio apartment. He looked at his hands, his face, his body. He was 25 again. He had regressed 30 years into the past. No idea how, probably the constellation, but he wasn't going to waste this second chance. His first move? Eat an artifact. He entered his subconscious, a surreal devouring space. There, a chicken meal floated before him, seriously. He bit into it. Bam! Plus 2 agility and a new skill. Demon Bash. The artifact vanished forever, but it worked. With renewed purpose, he joined a team for his first official player test dungeon. The veterans immediately looked down on him. "You studied the longsword on YouTube?" They laughed. But once inside, the joke was over. Shin Sang-hyun destroyed the dungeon. Orcs slashed in seconds. Boss killed in one blow. The so-called veterans were speechless. Who is this guy? Many underestimated orcs, viewing them as weak, stupid brutes, especially when compared to monsters like dragons. But that arrogance often got new players killed. Orcs, on average, stood 2.5 meters tall and weighed around 200 kilograms, and their raw strength earned them the nickname the Lamenting Wall. One careless move, and they could crush a player with a single blow. A few minutes earlier, Shin Sang-hyun had been quietly following a party through a dungeon. One of the players scoffed, warning him not to expect any rewards. No one was kind to newbies. Sang-hyun simply replied that he'd do his best. "Don't do your best," the player snapped. "Just do good." Sang-hyun then asked a strange question. Could he fight the monsters head-on? Before anyone could answer, an orc with an axe appeared. It was his first battle since returning. Just as he prepared to act, a knight blocked the orc's attack with his shield, yelling at Sang-hyun for trying to fight such a huge monster with a massive sword. "I just wanted to help," Sang-hyun replied, but the knight waved him off, telling him to just watch. The team leader arrived shortly after and knocked the orc to the ground. "Get ready," he ordered. "This guy's strong." The orc stood again, enraged. The leader struck back with his sword, but it got stuck in the beast. To everyone's surprise, the orc still wasn't down. Even with the leader, who was level 50, delivering blow after blow, the orc wouldn't fall. Eventually, the leader managed to injure it, and they thought the fight was over. But then came the roar. From deeper within the dungeon, a horde of orcs emerged. The group froze. It was far more than they could handle. The leader suggested retreating, unsure even he could fight them all. But before he could give the order, Sang-hyun stepped forward and offered to try. The others scoffed, assuming he was just another arrogant rookie. Still, he charged ahead. To everyone's shock, Sang-hyun killed an orc with a single strike, and he was only level 1. The orcs, insulted, rushed him, but Sang-hyun wasn't fazed. He might have been low level, but his combat experience was real. In a blur, he cut through the front line, slaying orcs like they were nothing. Then a stronger orc appeared and attacked. Sang-hyun dodged, sliced off its arm, and finished the job. As he fought, Sang-hyun revealed that in his past life he had wiped out orcs like these as a child. His group stood stunned. Was he really just a rookie? One final orc remained, this one armored and furious. It charged. Sang-hyun dodged mid-air and countered, striking a weak point. But it wasn't enough. The orc roared and prepared to attack again. That's when the hidden power activated. The black mist enveloped the orc, paralyzing it. Sang-hyun had absorbed a demon's skill through his sword. "Don't move," he told the orc. "I'm trying out a new technique." With one clean strike, he decapitated the monster. Its head rolled to the others. The leader was speechless. This kid, who awakened just 3 days ago, had taken down elite orcs like it was nothing. He couldn't believe it. They asked him where he got such a powerful skill. Sang-hyun calmly replied he'd gotten it the moment he awakened. The leader didn't believe him and checked the system screen himself, only to find Sang-hyun's sword was just a basic greatsword. As Sang-hyun leveled up, he earned a new title, Fearless, Immature Puppy. He chuckled, tweaking his stats by putting points into luck, something he knew to prioritize thanks to his regression. The team prepared to face the dungeon's mid-boss. The leader thanked Sang-hyun for handling the smaller orcs, but warned him the same trick wouldn't work on the boss. As they moved on, Sang-hyun smiled. This was just the beginning. Quietly, he thought to himself, what if I killed the boss alone and took its artifact for myself? What Shin Sang-hyun truly came for wasn't experience, loot, or bragging rights. It was the Crimson Stone, an artifact said to drop only from demon orcs. But even after slaying hundreds of them in his past life, he'd never seen it drop himself. It was rare, so rare that even seasoned hunters had only heard rumors. In his previous life, his party had failed to defeat a demon orc, but after collapsing nearby, they witnessed another team emerge victorious, and in that team's hands glowed the Crimson Stone. Nobody cared where they got it. just that if sold on the black market, it would fetch a fortune. But for Sang-hyun, it wasn't about money. That artifact had a delay effect, and hearing that word again made his heart skip. Delay. That's what he needed to activate his unique skill. He remembered it vividly. This same mid-boss battle, this same party. And back then, it was chaos. No one trusted each other. Not a real team. Items were split equally. And the Crimson Stone? It vanished into someone else's hands. Now that he was back, he had to ask, would it be arrogant to request the boss's main artifact for himself? He approached the party leader and posed the question. Silence. The others scoffed. Typical newbie arrogance. But Sang-hyun didn't care. He needed that artifact. Not for pride, for survival and growth. He was seen as nothing more than an overconfident rookie. Someone who'd gotten lucky once or twice. Even he began to doubt. What was he thinking? Charging in like he was invincible just because he killed a few orcs? That was nothing. But the leader broke the silence. He told Sang-hyun, fine, do whatever you want, but only if we fail to kill the boss. Then it's yours to challenge alone. Sang-hyun accepted the deal. As the party reformed to enter the boss chamber, he quietly slipped away. When questioned, he simply said he'd withdraw from the fight. They let him go, figuring he was chickening out. He wasn't. He was calculating. The leader, however, took it personally. This cocky newbie thought he was better than the whole team. No way. The leader clenched his weapon. He'd proved to that kid what real combat experience looked like. The doors opened. Inside was the mid-boss, a superior orc, its aura thick like a storm cloud. Battle began immediately. One of the party members warned the others. They had a strategy. Just circle the monster and strike its weak points. Simple in theory. A joke in practice. Within a minute, the leader was on the floor, barely conscious. He woke up dazed. What happened? They'd attacked head-on like amateurs. A teammate grabbed his arm and shouted, "Retreat! You'll die if you stay." And looking at the orc now, something was off. Why was it so much stronger than the last time? He had even paid for insider info on how to beat this thing. Worthless. Defeated, the leader gave the order to retreat. That's when they passed by Sang-hyun, still standing, waiting. The leader stopped. It's your turn. Go finish it. But if you fail, I'll personally make you pay. Sang-hyun simply smirked, tightened his grip on his great sword, and said, Don't worry. I need that thing. If I die here, I was never worth it anyway. Inside, the boss let out a growl and charged. Sang-hyun didn't flinch. He knew brute force alone wouldn't win this. Stat-wise, the orc outclassed him. But experience? That was something else entirely. The orc's massive axe came swinging down. Sang-hyun sidestepped effortlessly. Gasps echoed from the retreating party. He dodged? Even the leader hadn't landed a clean hit. Yet this rookie was dancing with the monster. As Sang-hyun advanced, the stone on his chest began to glow. He was calm, but he wasn't here to show off. He was here for that crimson stone. The synergy it offered was perfect. Combining delay with his unique demon bash ability would let him paralyze even stronger enemies. And with his true ace, Devour Artifact, he could absorb the Crimson Stone and fuse it into a stunning powerhouse of a skill. This wasn't about glory, it was about stun-locking his way to power. Then he summoned it. His aura flared. The orc reacted instantly, lunging forward. Axe up, bloodlust surging. Perfect. Sang-hyun dodged again and slashed, drawing first blood. With one precise move, he activated paralysis, freezing the orc for 2 seconds. The leader's eyes widened. What kind of skill is that? How is that even working on a demon-class monster? Because, Sang-hyun muttered, this isn't just some orc. It's a demon orc. That's exactly what I needed. But the orc wasn't done. It recovered and roared, unleashing a wild kick. Sang-hyun braced and blocked it with his sword, sliding back from the impact. Breathing heavily, he analyzed the situation. The wound he inflicted was healing. Fast. That regeneration, it was no joke. He'd have to stall another 15 seconds to use paralysis again, but stunning it forever wasn't an option. He needed to finish this. The orc charged again, axe raised. Sang-hyun knocked it away with a precise counter, slamming its weapon into the ground. Sparks flew. A background fighter shouted, "That stun won't hold much longer. We need to go." The leader hesitated. Sang-hyun still looked composed, calm, focused. Was he really a rookie? In truth, Sang-hyun knew he was weak. He wasn't delusional. But he also knew how to use a monster's strength against itself. That's what mattered. As the orc lunged again, he grinned. A flash of silver. With a perfect upward slash, he shattered a weak point, splitting the orc clean down the middle. Silence. Then, a system message appeared. Level up. New title unlocked. Demon Hunter. He didn't even check the full log. He had 2 titles now. Maybe that was the real strength of a solo player. He walked out of the room. The others were stunned. How? He shouted over his shoulder, "I almost died in there. If the boss hadn't been softened up by your complete failure, I'd be toast." The leader flinched but played it off. "Of course. I planned it that way." Then he called out to the group, "All right, get ready. We've still got the final boss ahead." The team began retreating, still in disbelief. And as everyone left, Sang-hyun stood alone, staring down at the object that started it all. The Crimson Stone. His next step was about to begin. He was dragged into that strange, devouring dimension. And there it was, his reward. A mysterious, glowing bowl appeared before him. He grabbed it and sat down to eat. The texture? Perfection. Better than anything he'd ever tasted. As he scarfed it down, the system chimed. He gained extra points and unlocked a brand new skill. Delay. Now, he could add a delay effect to his attacks. Combine that with Demon Bash? Oh yeah, he was cooking. The fusion produced a crazy bonus. 90% success rate on the first strike, 60% on the second, and 30% on the third. But the kicker? All stat boosts would be guaranteed after 4 seconds. Insane. It used to be just theoretical. Now it was real. Before he could test this out, the leader approached him and asked for a quick word. Turns out, the team was already at the final boss room. Orc Berserker time. Sang-hyun asked if they needed his help with the boss. Surprisingly, the leader said no. That shocked him. But then the leader added, "I'd be a failed leader if I didn't use a team member like you." In the end, he asked Sang-hyun to officially join the party. Sang-hyun agreed on one condition. Whoever dealt the most damage would get the rewards. The leader accepted. As they prepared to enter, one of the party members sneered at Sang-hyun behind his back. Sang-hyun noticed. Did that guy just glare at me? Oh, he did. They headed into Dungeon 85, and there it was, the boss chamber. Inside, the Orc Berserker was kneeling, radiating raw power. The leader turned to Sang-hyun and said he'd go first, but Sang-hyun stopped him. "Just stick with me," he said confidently. As the fight began, Sang-hyun analyzed the enemy. Weak to stun effects. Perfect. He dashed in. Then the boss suddenly sprang up, charging straight at him. But this time, Sang-hyun didn't flinch. In his past life, he was always afraid, always hiding behind the strong ones. Not anymore. He countered the berserker's attack and found his opening. This wasn't just about winning, it was about changing his future. He gripped his sword. No one had ever cheered for him in his old life. Now, everyone was watching, stunned. Even the leader stood still, realizing, this guy's a monster. Sang-hyun unleashed a skill and instantly lopped off part of the boss. "Now's your chance," he shouted. The boss was stunned for 4 whole seconds. The team didn't need to be told twice. They charged. In a flurry of blades and spells, the orc berserker fell. Victory. The system congratulated them. No casualties. Final boss down. As Sang-hyun prepared to leave, he overheard some porters whispering. They were wondering if he had a personal porter and even wanted to work for him. But Sang-hyun wasn't interested. He didn't want to use anyone unfairly. That's when the system popped up with new titles. So many that Sang-hyun was speechless. In his previous life, he never even dreamed of gaining this many titles. But even now, he couldn't compare to that man. The Phantom Blade, the title collector, the complete sword. In his past life, that swordsman had reached level 500 within just 2 years. A true monster. Sang-hyun had admired him. But now, maybe, just maybe, he could become someone like that? Or even surpass him? Just then, the leader returned and handed him something. It was a bronze-class item. Not amazing, but the gesture meant something. "We probably won't meet again," the leader said. That hurt a bit. He recognized Sang-hyun's potential, even more than his own. Meanwhile, not everyone was happy. One of the team members who had watched Sang-hyun shine was fuming. He just joined, and already got something I wanted so badly. His jealousy boiled, but before he could act on it, his phone rang. Cut to Sang-hyun's house. He was thrilled. Not only had he cleared a dungeon and officially become a player, but he also got a decent payday. Plus, he'd scored the Orc Berserker's Ring, a bronze artifact with a tricky effect. It reduced all artifact weight to 1 gram, but at the cost of 1 mana per second. Most players wouldn't touch it. The mana drain was brutal, but Sang-hyun wasn't like most players. He remembered something important. After 50 years of research in his old life, he discovered that if he devoured an artifact with mana requirements, it removed the mana cost entirely. So he stared at the ring. Penalty? Who cares? He was about to devour it. Cut to a bar. Chaos. That salty party member from before was raging. He couldn't accept that Sang-hyun had defeated a boss in seconds. He shouted, slammed his drink, cursing the unfairness of it all. That's when another adventurer stepped in. Calm but cold. "Why are you yelling?" he asked. "What, planning revenge?" The salty guy barked back. "Of course not." Swipe. Before he could finish, his ear was suddenly sliced clean off. Blood dripped as the entire bar fell silent. The first adventurer just grinned. Lying gets you hurt. The wounded man clutched his head in shock. But even then, he nodded. Yeah, he wanted revenge. He just wanted to do business with Sang-hyun. That's when a third adventurer walked in. This guy? Total professional. Cool, confident, and not amused. "You idiots really think you can take him down for that price?" he scoffed. "Way too low." He wasn't risking his life for pocket change. And ask, "Where is he?" Scene shift. Jamshil 4-3 Training Grounds. Sang-hyun arrives, finally. He takes a breath and sits down to rest. But nope, his stomach flips. Maybe it was that last sketchy meal, but whatever. He shakes it off. Even with the nausea, he clutches the greatsword tightly. That thing? It was practically a cheat code. It spun like paper in his hands, weightless thanks to a passive effect. He mutters to himself, "Guess I'll just use this sword for now." Then a random thought hits him. Wait, what if I accidentally let go of it? Yeah, probably bad. With nothing else to do, Sang-hyun pulls up his player menu. He stares at his stats. Dead average. A constellation could help. But attracting 1. That was a whole different beast. He needed something impressive. And right now, he didn't have the stats or clout to pull it off. So what now? Training. That was the only thing left. Cut 2. Days later. Sang-hyun looks dead inside. He's been grinding non-stop, sleepless, exhausted. But finally, something clicked. A new ability unlocked. One that let him improve with any sword infinitely. No matter the weapon, it molded to him. It was like becoming a living sword manual. Then boom, a unique dungeon pops up. He was hyped, until he looked at the GPS. Seriously? That far? Still, he drove for hours, finally arrived. But something felt off. A black car lurking in the background. Yeah, those clowns had been tailing him all this time. He noticed, but chose to ignore them. First, dungeon. Later, trash cleanup. He stepped through the portal, and, yup, the stalkers followed right after. He frowned. This is supposed to be a solo dungeon, right? Inside, he sits on a strange stone. Then he confirms. This dungeon belongs to him. He calmly tells the others, "Get out. I won't report you." But something else catches his eye. No mages, no healers, just swordsmen. That's no regular party. That's a human hunting squad. They were the Hyena Pack. Sang-hyun remembered them from his past life, a notorious group wiped out by the Player Association. And now, here they were, in his dungeon. They must be after me. He already knew their weakness. Take out the archer first. But before anything went down, he warned them, "I've already handled 4 bodies before you. Don't test me." Naturally, that pissed them off. One guy stepped forward, ego inflated, claiming he'd handle Sang-hyun alone. Sang-hyun replied, "Maybe listen to your boss, unless you want to die." That was it. The guy charged at him, sword raised. "Go to another world!" But Sang-hyun didn't flinch. In dungeons, the weak die. That's the rule. Monsters don't play fair. Artifacts betray. There's no mercy here. And with one swift counter, Sang-hyun takes the man down. Next. 2 more rush him. The leader yells to spread out, orders the archer to protect them while they reposition. The archer obeys, pulling out his bow, but also recording Sang-hyun. Why? Who knows? Ego, probably. Sang-hyun notices. "Yo, where do you think you're going?" "Shut up," the archer growls and fires. Arrows fly. Sang-hyun moves, lightning fast. He slices them mid-air like nothing. The archer freezes. Then, stab. Sang-hyun's sword impales him. The leader blinks. Did he throw it? Yeah, like a javelin. Now unarmed, Sang-hyun dashes to reclaim his sword. 2 enemies move to intercept. Too late. He grabs the hilt, dodges both attacks clean. They can't believe it. One shouts, "He's too fast!" Sang-hyun yanks the blade free and shifts his gaze to the boss. But the boss? He's busy grabbing his own ally by the head. "What are you doing?" Slash. But it wasn't him. Sang-hyun's strike hits, kills the wrong guy in the chaos. Now things start to click. Wait, these guys, are they organ dealers? No teamwork, no reason to be together. Their only goal? Hunt strong adventurers. Kill them. Steal their points. Level up illegally. Sang-hyun knew it. "You people, hunt your own kind." The leader brushes it off. "Doesn't matter anymore," he charges. Sang-hyun's defenseless. Almost. "Well, I was just asking." Demon Bash activated. The leader freezes, stunned. 4.4 seconds of paralysis. He's in disbelief. What? How? Then he remembers. Those tiny cuts from earlier. The passive skill had built up. But this wasn't supposed to exist. Doesn't matter. Sang-hyun closes in. The leader panics. I've always been the one who kills, not the other way around. He flashes back to another betrayal. One where he pretended to trust a fellow adventurer, then killed him. Now? Karma. Sang-hyun steps forward, sword raised. I was never an adventurer. Slash. His throat opens and he drops. The blood washes away in a nearby stream. Sang-hyun stands silently. He wipes the blade clean and wonders, will the police come after me? Was that really self-defense? Too late to care now. His eyes shift. Artifacts, weapons, loot, all scattered around. No owners left. No one to stop him. Guess it's all mine now. Shin Sang-hyun brushes off the dust, puts on his coat, and smirks. Finally, some results. The system beeps to life. Level 10 achieved. His title? Overwhelming Power. The screen flashes his stats. HP 400, MP 50, STR 37, Dex 28, Luke 19, plus 11 devoured artifacts thanks to his exclusive skill, Artifact Devourer. Despite the chaos, Sang-hyun reflects, it was all worth it. Power like this feels like he's already on par with a level 50. Then, something shiny was in his pocket. A ring. The system labels it. Ring of Recovery. A silver-grade support artifact. It can purge abnormalities using 10 mana, twice that if used within a minute again. Handy, especially after the earlier stun nearly cost him everything. And then, mana synchronization of the recovery ring will now begin. Goblins stir nearby. One of the goblin notice him. Sang-hyun grips his sword and walks into battle. Confident, cocky even. The goblins growl, weapons raised, but he's ready. Lucky Day title was his objective. It requires 500 monster kills with their eyes closed. The tension spikes. He focuses, feeling the air, hearing water drops, then strikes. His hair flashes white. The battlefield erupts. Sword in hand, he carves through goblins with brutal precision. Blood rains. One after another, they fall. And, when it's done, another level up. The system rewards him with the Lucky Day title, boosting luck and future gains. Then, just as he's laughing to himself about the money this strength could bring, maybe 1 billion won, a portal cracks open behind him. He turns. The system chimes. 3 constellations are watching. The Cleaner of the Fallen Dimension, the Pilgrim of Grand Space, and the Goddess of Luck. All want him. Sang-hyun stood there, wide-eyed, staring at the 3 constellations floating before him like celestial salesmen fighting over a Black Friday deal. Yep, 3 of them. All powerful, all famous, and all very interested in him. They weren't just fast, they had actually teamed up to claim him. That alone had him blinking in disbelief. Wait, did you guys seriously like that little show back there? He asked, half joking. And then, bam! 1 constellation stepped forward. Close. Too close. It made Sang-hyun a little nervous. He wasn't used to this VIP treatment. In his past life, he'd never experienced anything like this. Was he being arrogant? Maybe. But still, this was a first. The constellation spoke up. Would you be interested in forming an alliance with the Goddess of Luck? Apparently, this divine lady had taken a liking to him, specifically his absurdly high luck stat. Sang-hyun scratched his head. Yeah, he was pretty lucky, wasn't he? Still, it felt surreal. These celestial beings weren't just watching. They were ready to sign contracts. Real ones. He turned to get a better look. First, there was the Cleaner of the Fallen Dimension, a spooky assassin type. Probably interested because Sang-yun had just turned goblins into minced meat in record time. Then there was a pig, the pilgrim of grand space. Why he appeared, he had no idea. Constellations were supposed to only approach saintly players. Was that him? Judging by the twinkle in his cosmic eyes, apparently yes. But just as he tried to make sense of this heavenly lineup, the goddess of luck chimed in again. She assured him she wasn't possessive. He was free to choose other constellations too. Sang-yun's eyes lit up. Options? And perks? Now we're talking. She brought up Hashimoto Yuki, the so-called Archer of Miracles, a guy so lucky his arrows paused mid-air and still hit bullseye. His destructive power combined with insane luck made people whisper he was cheating. But nope, he just had the right backing. The goddess of luck and the constellation who makes the impossible possible. A deadly combo. 3 constellations fighting over one level 10 player? Sang-yun felt a little bashful. Down below, the trio of cosmic beings were starting to squabble over him. They were serious, but Sang-yun couldn't rush this. Choosing one of them meant locking in a destiny. And he knew what happened when you picked wrong. He remembered his past life. For 10 whole years, one constellation had appeared to him. A hardcore, suffer until you succeed type. Sure, it felt like salvation at first, but, in the end, nothing. At 55, his life had gone nowhere. No power, no divine aid, nothing. And to make it worse, he never even used the one constellation's powers. He might have regressed because of that guy. So this time, Sang-yun wasn't about to mess up again. Divine power, destructive power, luck power. What would he choose? His head spun. But finally, he made his choice. He hit the selection button. Ding! Contract with the goddess of luck finalized. The system flashed a message. The contract would remain valid, even if he died, for the next 30 years. A cosmic spotlight now followed him, courtesy of his new patron. 15 friendly constellations sent their congrats. 3 not-so-friendly ones swore they'd block his every step. Sang-yun gulped. Okay, why's everyone suddenly watching me? Still, he was now officially under the care of the goddess of luck. She extended her hand, and Sang-yun took it. Just like that, they were bound. System update, tell me your wish. 1. Each attack now adds a guaranteed critical hit. 2. High-grade artifacts that will always unlock their hidden effects. Third boss monsters. Slaying them now meant a real shot at rare loot. Sang-yun blinked at the screen. He'd never seen anything like this. His stats were off the charts. 100% critical rate. 100% accuracy. Guaranteed artifact drops. The dude who used to suffer every day. He was done suffering. But the goddess of luck wasn't done. 4. Use the points to that gain when level up. Will increase stats by 2 with 1 point, if invested in luck. What about the other 2 offers? She asked. Without hesitation, Sang-yun waved them off. You guys can go. I've made my choice. The remaining constellations didn't take that well. One snarled, the other cursed. And the devourer? Yeah, she threw some serious shade. But the goddess of luck just chuckled and clapped. Bold and decisive. I like that, she said, clearly enjoying the drama. Sang-yun, feeling stronger than ever, knew one thing. Now wasn't the time to get cocky. There'd be better chances ahead. For now, he just had to survive. Which brings us to the boss fight. Sang-yun found himself face to face with a sword-swinging maniac. Each strike was fast and heavy, but he blocked them all, impressing even the goddess herself. If this is the final boss, Sang-yun muttered, then this is kinda disappointing. That ticked the boss off. The Goblin Lord grunted, grabbed a shiny, heavy axe, and slammed it toward him. Sang-hyun blocked. But then, the system beeped again. Greed, Goblin Lord. With a wild swing, the Goblin Lord hurled Sang-hyun across the floor. He skidded back, using his sword to stop the momentum. But the boss wasn't done. His eyes glowed with a strange light. Rage poured from his body. Rage that moved. It wasn't just anger. It was a status ailment. Intimidation, disease. Sang-hyun rolled his eyes. Seriously? It wasn't as deadly as paralysis, but it came with crushing pressure, an attack on his willpower. The Goblin Lord wanted to break his spirit. Sang-hyun triggered recovery just in time. The boss lunged again, but Sang-hyun dodged to the side and struck back. He quickly realized the boss's intimidation skill was more bark than bite. Useful against mobs, maybe, but not someone like him. Time to go on the offensive. He cleansed the intimidation debuff. The boss? Visibly shocked. Sang-hyun rushed forward, and in mere moments slashed the Goblin Lord clean in half. The boss tried using intimidation again, but nope, not this time. You like using pressure? Sang-hyun smirked. Let's flip that on you. The goblin froze. 2 full seconds of paralysis. That was all Sang-hyun needed. He lunged in with a storm of slashes, slicing the goblin down with rapid, precise strikes. Then, instead of delivering the final blow, he activated delay, stretching the boss's life just enough to dish out even more damage. And then, it happened. 90% chance to trigger stun effect. Success. Sang-hyun's eyes widened. Oh, it was on now. After defeating the Goblin Lord, Sang-hyun stood frozen, gripping his massive greatsword. The boss collapsed beside him, and for a moment he wasn't sure if it was real, until the system confirmed it with a flood of congratulatory messages. He'd cleared the suffocating Goblin Swamp dungeon, earned XP, gained several levels, and even received a D-rank title. Relief washed over him as he dropped to his knees, exhausted. Just hours ago, he was being tailed by groups of players. Now, here he was, alone in an unknown dungeon, wondering if he'd pushed himself too far. But the goddess of luck disagreed. She claimed she was blessing him with only the finest rewards, if he could survive her ridiculous missions. She reminded him that with the total luck ability, this was just the start. Surprised, Sang-hyun opened his stat panel. His luck was already above average, and with each point over 100, bonus effects like evasion increased by 10%. That explained his growing knack for snagging better loot. He looked down and noticed a dropped shield. It wasn't great, but he didn't complain. He figured with enough luck, better items were bound to come. Sinking more mana into his luck stat, he watched the goddess of luck float beside him, boosting the artifact's quality slightly. Later, at the player association near Jamsil Station, Sang-hyun hit a wall, literally. The receptionist denied his quest application. He pleaded his case, but she still refused, warning him about the dangers of entering a level 100 dungeon. He argued that low-tier missions were a waste of time. She sympathized, but stood firm. Just hours earlier, he'd been driving along the Hanam Expressway, excited about his new shield. He was dreaming of rice dinners and better days, until his beat-up car began shaking like a dying animal. Realizing it was on its last legs, he considered buying a new one but quickly gave up the idea. With low levels and rising danger, debt wasn't worth the risk. He began to seriously consider moving to the city of players, where surveillance was strong and artifact markets were booming. Back at the association, he finally admitted he needed one thing more than gear: money. And the only way to get it was through the Player Association's official mission system. Just then, a new voice cut in. Kim Miso, a level 100A+ ranker, stepped forward. The receptionist recognized her immediately. Miso was no ordinary player. She was the nation's top marksman, daughter of a biotech CEO, and a shareholder of the elite Eden Guild. Miso remarked that she had never seen Sang-hyun before. He reminded her of how she once rejected him from her group. No hard feelings. He was weak back then. But this time she seemed curious. When he told her he wanted to enter an S-rank dungeon, she asked why. His answer? I need money. The surrounding players were shocked. Was this rookie serious? Miso warned him about the dangers again, but Sang-hyun insisted. He was used to it. Unfortunately, solo runs were forbidden. That rule wouldn't lift for another 4 years. Realizing he'd misread the rules, Sang-hyun turned to leave. But Miso surprised everyone. She offered to team up with him. Players nearby were stunned. Why was she interested in a nobody? Sang-hyun agreed, but only under one condition. He was a newbie, and he had trust issues. Miso had no conditions, only a warning. If he failed her expectations, there would be consequences. But if he proved himself, she'd owe him an apology. With a grin, Sang-hyun accepted. For once, things were finally going his way. Maybe